Hey everyone, if you are looking for easy and delicious dinners that are secretly healthier options for you, then you are going to love these recipes. I have recently lost 30 pounds by making some changes in my diet, and I don't know about you, but if something is too restrictive, I will not stick to it for a long period of time. So my first focus now is on reducing refined sugars and oils that are really bad for us. And in doing so, I have been testing out some new recipes and making tweaks to old favorites because I want to show to myself and to you that we do not have to sacrifice flavor for fitness. So whether you are wanting to eat healthier or maybe you're just wanting to balance out all of the sweets that we have this holiday time of year, I highly recommend all of these recipes. And spoiler alert, this first recipe is now in my top 5 favorite recipes of all times, healthy or not. If you haven't done so already, please make sure that you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on any future recipe videos. And let's go ahead and get into the first recipe. All right, the first recipe in this video is for these Korean pork tacos, and this is hands down one of my top 5 ever favorite recipes. You have to try this. They are so easy and so good. So I'm going to start out by making the sauce that's going to go over the tacos, and I'm just going to start out by combining some soy sauce. So I use the coconut aminos instead of soy sauce just to make it a little bit healthier. It also makes it gluten-free. And then to that, you're going to add in some sugar. So it calls for brown sugar. I'm adding maple syrup. That's just a healthier sugar option if you want to kind of watch what you're putting in your food. So the recipe called for half a cup of brown sugar. I'm using just over a quarter cup of the maple syrup. Because it is sweeter, you do cut back the amount. And then I'm just going to add in some rice wine vinegar and give that a stir. Then I'm going to add in some chopped fresh ginger. You could also use ginger powder if that's what you have on hand. And then again, stir everything to combine. So in my crock pot here, I have my pork tenderloins. These were frozen, which is why I did not remove the silver skin at this point. But I just went ahead and removed it after it finished cooking. It was completely fine. And then to that, I'm adding in some chopped jalapenos and some chopped red onion. And then we're going to go ahead and pour over that sauce. Then I just set this on low heat for about 8 hours. And once it was done cooking, like I said, I removed the silver skin from the pork tenderloin. You could also use a pork butt or shoulder, whatever you prefer. And then, so I went ahead and removed that. And then I'm going to go ahead and shred the meat. And as you can see here, this is so tender. And I am telling you, the flavor of this is out of this world. The leftovers were amazing. It was just incredible. So I really highly recommend this recipe. It was so easy to do. Throw in the crock pot and leave it and have dinner ready that evening. But I'm going to show you what I'm going to pair it with here in just a moment. Oh, and I almost forgot, I did season it with some salt and pepper to taste since I did not add salt and pepper to the liquid when we were cooking the pork tenderloin. So you just want to do that to taste, stir that well together, and then these are ready to go. So to go alongside of this, I'm going to make a slaw, and I kind of changed up what the recipe called for. So I'm starting out with some mayo. This is full avocado oil mayo. So if you're trying to watch what you're eating and you're wanting to incorporate healthier oils, the avocado oil is the best. And then to that, I'm going to add just a touch of that maple syrup. And this is real maple syrup, not the kind that you would use like on pancakes if you like have like breakfast maple syrup. And then a little bit of that rice wine vinegar. And then I'm also going to add in just a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I did add in just a little bit of garlic powder as well. But you can completely season this to your preference and add or take away whatever you like. I will have all these recipes linked in the description box below. So if you want to see like the original slaw recipe that came with these tacos, it will be there for you. But this was incredible. My husband loved it too. So I just mix that up. Then you're going to add in your coleslaw mix. So I'm just going to start with a little bit and then toss that together. And then I will add more in based on how much of that mayo mixture I had. Since I was eyeballing it, I wasn't quite sure how much I would need. And the next healthy swap that I made in this recipe is using these almond flour siete tortillas. I found mine in the freezer section of my Walmart. You can keep them in the refrigerator or the freezer, and then you just heat them up on the stove 10 to 15 seconds per side. They taste amazing and they have amazing texture. I highly recommend them. They are a little bit pricier, but I do think that they're worth it. And I will leave a link for Ibotta in the description box below because they currently have $2 back per package. So the next recipe is for carbonara spaghetti, which I have shared on my channel before, but this one is a little bit different and it's just using some tweaks to make it a healthier option. So I'm going to start out by just cutting up a few slices of bacon into my pan, and I'm starting it out in a cold pan. I always say that with bacon, you want to start it out in a cold pan, low heat, so that way the fat can render, but I'm just cutting it into little strips here. So that way, one, it just cooks more quickly, and then it doesn't splatter as much as when I have the strips, at least for me. And you're going to want it in pieces later. So I just went ahead and did it now instead of crumbling it after cooking. Like I said, just a quicker cooking time. But you just want to let that cook until it is done to your liking. And then while that was cooking, I went ahead and combined 4 egg yolks with some Parmesan cheese. And I'm just using a 1/4 cup of Parmesan cheese here. And then I'm going to add in some pepper. I love a lot of black pepper in this recipe, and so I'm going a little bit heavy-handed with it, and then some salt as well. And then back to the bacon here, you can see I'm just going to use my tongs to kind of break those pieces apart. Now, as they cook, don't worry, the strips will come apart from one another, so you don't have to worry about separating it too much because the cooking will do that for you. Now this recipe is different than the previous one that I shared. The other one, I include onions, which I love. It's not traditional carbonara, but I do love sauteed onions in it. And then also this one is just all egg yolks instead of any whole eggs. So it made for a little bit of a thicker, creamier sauce. Both are amazing. My husband and I enjoyed both of them, so I would definitely give either one a try. So now that my bacon is finished, I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the pan, and then I'm just going to stir together the eggs and the cheese, and then this is the spaghetti that I'm substituting. It's the chickpea spaghetti from Banza, and it has 20 grams of protein per serving and 8 grams of fiber, so that is an amazing option if you're trying to change things up a little bit from traditional spaghetti. And then I went ahead and drained most of that bacon fat out of the pan and left just a little bit to toss in with the pasta. But before I drained the pasta, I did save some of the pasta water, and you just want to add that to your egg yolk cheese mixture before putting it into your pan with the spaghetti. And this helps to make sure that you're not going to curdle the eggs or scramble them at all. And I used to be really intimidated with carbonara, but don't be, because it really is simple. If you do that and you temper your eggs with a little bit of the pasta water, it's really easy to do. And then at this point, I just have my stove on a low heat, and I'm adding in a little bit of pasta water at a time until I get the thickness and creaminess that I want with the sauce. So you do want to make sure that you reserve that pasta water because you want it to make the sauce with the egg yolks. And I'm telling you, if you've never tried carbonara, it is so good. And this option with the chickpea pasta was incredible. So now I'm just going to add that bacon back in and then season a little bit with salt and pepper to taste. And then this is ready to serve. Like I said, I love this. My husband said he could tell a difference with this pasta from regular pasta. I thought it just had a little bit more of an al dente kind of texture to it, but I did not notice a big difference taste-wise, so it's a great option. Now the last recipe in today's video is for this Greek macaronada. And this is not a traditional macaronada. Traditional macaronada uses beef, like stewing meat, but my yaya would sometimes make it with chicken, and I loved it, and it's so quick and easy to do because you don't have to allow the chicken to cook as long as you would like a stew meat and leave it on the stove all day. So for a quick, easy dinner, this is definitely a go-to and a family favorite. So I'm just going to start out by dicing up an onion, or excuse me, not dicing, but you want to cut it into like thin strips. And I love onion in this, so I kind of go heavy-handed with it. So I'm actually doing just 2 chicken breasts in this recipe, but I'm doing a whole onion. If you're not a huge fan of caramelized sauteed onions, then you can do a half or leave it out. But it's one of my favorite parts of this dish. So again, I'm just going to thinly slice the onion, and then I'm going to set that aside, and we're going to prep the chicken. Now, I've mentioned before, I'm kind of a disaster when it comes to trimming chicken because I'm so picky about it. I don't like any parts that I could potentially think are chewy, not to gross anyone out, but so I do trim quite a bit off of my chicken breast, and we do cook that up for our dogs, so don't worry, it doesn't go to waste. But all you want to do is cut this into like bite-sized pieces. They do not need to be perfect. You just want them in smaller pieces so that way it's easier to eat later on, and then it does cook more quickly as well. Now, if you're not familiar with Greek cooking and you're intimidated by it, this is a great recipe to start out with because it's super simple to make, and this one is very like palate friendly using the chicken and with beef too, but it's just a great kind of starter recipe if it's something that's newer for you. But then I'm going to just go ahead in a large pan. I'm going to add in some olive oil, and then I'm going to go ahead and swirl that around the bottom of the pan and then add in the chicken breast. Now with the chicken breast, you're not looking to cook it fully, but honestly it kind of does with these smaller pieces. You really just want to brown it. So if you're doing a larger portion size than just the 2 breasts, and depending on your pan size, you may want to do this in batches, just because getting some brown color on there does add flavor to the dish. But I'm just going to cook it for a few minutes on each side. And here you can see I'm just turning those over and you can see the brown color that it gets. And then once that has brown on each side, I'm going to remove it from the pan and then add the onions in so that way those can start caramelizing and softening. And once I added them in and gave this a stir, I realized that I wanted just a touch more of that olive oil. So I'm just going to go ahead and add in just a little bit more here, and then I'm going to let these cook down. And I did this about like medium heat. I wasn't going to do a whole process of like fully caramelizing at a lower heat. You just want to get some color on them and get them to start softening. And then once they do, you're going to add in a can of crushed tomatoes. Now, traditionally, this recipe will also include tomato paste, which I did not have, so I did leave it out. And then I forgot to film or I kind of messed up filming adding in the crushed tomatoes. So you want to add in a can of crushed tomatoes. I also added in just a touch of water. And then now I'm going to add in a cinnamon stick. And this is where the flavor of this dish comes from. The cinnamon with the tomatoes. It's not like a sweet or weird taste. I know it can seem kind of different if you're not used to it, but I absolutely love the combination. And then I'm just going to add some salt and pepper, put a lid on this and let it simmer on the stove for about 30 minutes, just so those flavors can start developing. You can leave it longer if you'd like. And like I said, you could do this with like stew meat. You just want to let it cook a lot longer so that way the meat can become like really tender. And it's a great way to use up a cut of meat that is like a cheaper cut too. So if you needed something new to do that's on a budget, it would be a great recipe as well for that. But then I just served this over some pasta. Again, this was the Banza chickpea pasta, but the cavatappi like spiral pasta with a little bit of Parmesan cheese, or you could do a nice Greek cheese on top. I really hope that you enjoyed seeing the recipes in today's video, and I can't wait until the next one and to take you guys on this health journey with me. I am really excited to show myself and you that cooking healthier for yourself does not have to mean that you are lacking flavor. And I hope that you will join my YouTube family and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I would love to have you as part of this journey, and I hope you have a wonderful day.